Well, hello, this is me again. Today is July 2, and we are rolling into the long weekend. Well, we're actually basically the third of the way already in it. But here are some things which I wanted to make sure you understand. And I will start with kind of reference back to my last video where I was talking about the issue of the logistics and the way things should go in case the United States decides to commit suicide and decides to fight Russia in European theater of operation, specifically in the Eastern European theater of operation, because Russia doesn't care about the Western theater of operations, because who needs Western countries, really? Look at France, man. So, and this is just one of the start of the things, and as have been forecasted for a number of years now, things will get even more dicey in coming months. But let's start with this. I want to remind you, remember this. This is the very simple scheme, so to speak, of how you see those blue arrows. This is a general direction. It doesn't mean that the upper arrow will have to go to Norway. It should go into the North Sea and then to Bremenhaven in Germany, for example, or it doesn't have to go to Portugal. It can go to France. And these are the routes, general routes of the basically shipment of the all necessary material, war material, primarily ammunition and of course hardware, tanks, Bradleys, what have you, to the European theater of operation to deploy properly those American divisions, which I told you. And in the red, as you can see yourself, these are the ranges of any kind of the surface ship or submarine with the modern Russian average, let's say this virtual weaponry such as cruise missiles, because obviously those ranges could be much larger if you talk about Zircon, and we're talking about here around 1,000 kilometers and radius, so that means the diameter of 2,000 kilometers, and this is a single ship or single submarine which can actually control the shipment of any kind of the war material, because you cannot fight just by the personnel. And as you can see yourself, it doesn't take much, not to speak about Russian aviation and other things of this nature, that even considering the countermeasures, which of course will involve the actions of the US Navy, including the submarine forces and surface component. But point is, I don't know how much of this material could be delivered. And unlike the personnel, which you can really deliver, tediously and over the time by aircraft, like transport aircraft or even passenger aircraft, obviously, as some people basically speculate, well, not speculate, they have a point that the reason the United States also does what it does in Europe currently is to increase its footprint in Europe. Well, sure, there's a point to this, but the problem is, of course, if the United States begins to actively move material to the European theater of operation, you cannot hide it. I mean, especially against Russia. Come on. I mean, it will be immediately seen, and all those ships of this Sea Lift Command, you will see them, and we know they have the issues with the readiness, but there is another issue. Of course, they will not be allowed in case of the what is called in Russia threatening period, and this is the period before the war. They will not be allowed freely to roam the seas, so to speak, and that will create what they call the third battle or fourth battle of Atlantic. And believe me, considering the fact of Russian submarines and Russian weapons, their ranges, and them being proven unequivocally in the combat situations, there is very little probability, honestly, that even the basic required load of the weapons and ammunition will be delivered to United States, whatever will be basically deployed there. And of course, from the get-go, and I am on the record, you can look it up, Russians already speak about this openly. It's including the military professionals that basically they say, well, they're cowards. They are hiding behind their proxy and they will never dare to really face the real war, because obviously there cannot be special military operation against the, for example, combined forces of NATO. It's going to be full-blown war, and as I already stated, it is NATO, precisely United States, who is nuclear biased. They would accelerate and escalate towards the nuclear threshold much faster than Russia, because Russia has a conventional escalation dominance. And this is what I wanted to tell you, for you to keep in mind that many people speak about this and they talk about it, but no, United States pursues this kind of insidious type, activity to place something like all those MK-41s, Aegis Ashore things here and there, to place some kind of the hypersonic weapon, as they call it. In reality, there are none still. It was supposed, this Arrow thing, to be deployed in 2022. Now it's end of 2023. Most likely it will not be even 2024, because they have issues developing those gliding vehicles. So there you go. Meanwhile, yes, we speak about this and talking about the some kind of realistic framework of the logistics and supply, which is crucial. In this particular case, the special military operation runs its course, and as you can see yourself, we can see from the first 2 days of June, July, we can see the dynamics of the armed forces of Ukraine losses, and as you can see yourself already, we're basically talking about the regiment wiped out in first 2 days from the order of battle from the armed forces of Ukraine. There are a number of vehicles, 9 tanks, and things of this nature, and it just continues and will continue for a while, because now people are talking about second phase of the so-called offensive. Sure, Russians have been ready for that, and this is also brings us to the issue of Wagner, which I agree, some of my people who posted in my discussion boards, I myself, sick and tired of this thing, because basically it's difficult to convey the fact that how much, not damage, how much screw up, if you wish, those people created. I'm talking about primarily top of Wagner, Mr. Prigozhin, but it's over, done with, forget it. Prosecutor General Office and military prosecutors and FSB are working now in the camps, and Wagner is being completely disarmed right now. And so let's move on, because obviously this is merely media circus and media fodder for all those losers who work in the media sphere. And when you look at the dynamics of this thing, you begin to notice something which is my dear friend Larry Johnson noted yesterday. He comes up and puts this article and the myth of the Ukrainian stalemate. And Larry speaks about it, that, oh my gosh, you can basically notice immediately the change of the tone among all those prostitutes, because America doesn't have free media like establishment media. And here Larry gives basically he's talking about that many leaders in the West now are pushing their propaganda theme of inevitable stalemate in the Ukrainian war. In other words, Ukraine will fight Russia to a standstill. Well, that's the delusional hope. Don't take my word for it. And he uses the list of those just few examples of this propaganda being pushed by all kinds of the whores from the Western media, be that New York Magazine, AP, Associated Press, Washington Post, Guardian, what have you. And of course, yeah, it's complete baloney. And if you go even further, you begin to see that even Mr. Milley, obviously chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, suddenly comes to the press and says, "Oh my God, top U.S. general not surprised about Ukraine's slow offensive." Really? And he says, "It doesn't surprise me at all that Kyiv's much hyped counteroffensive is going slower than expected. What I had said was that it is going to take 6, 8, 10 weeks. It's going to be very difficult, it's going to be very long, and it's going to be very, very bloody. Well, I mean, Mr. Milley obviously didn't graduate from the General Staff and Command College in Leavenworth, Kansas, and probably slept through all those basically lectures if he doesn't know that if in the first 15 days the offensive doesn't reach any kind of its objectives, then it's gone, it's over, don't even try. But he doesn't know this, and he says now 6, 8, 10 weeks, why not 25 weeks? Next thing you know, next month he will be talking about 35 weeks. And I don't know, so he better go and watch 9.5 Weeks. It's a great movie. Kim Basinger, my God. And Mickey Rourke is still very attractive there. So anyhow, yeah, they continue to push this garbage, obviously, because they need to cover the incredible failure, which is strategic in nature. And one of those links which Larry provided is this. It's New York Magazine. And look at this, New York Magazine, Mr. Eric Levitz, he talks about that America must plan for a stalemate in Ukraine. Well, he put it out in March 16th, but still, look at this. Look at the foresight. They already saw that supposedly Ukraine has to fight Russia to the stalemate. Obviously, I understand it is impossible to really explain to those people, even if they wanted to. Well, they have degrees in lying and BSing, but even if you had to explain to them, they will not grasp it. They don't have intellectual academic toolkit, and let alone life experiences. But let's what he writes. And why Russia may have an advantage in a protracted conflict. Wars of attrition are tests of manpower, industrial capacity, and political will. Despite its heavy losses, Russia has no shortage of men. Well, I don't know if Russian losses are heavy. I would say they are very light, considering the scale and scope of the operation. But hey, these are, again, as I already stated, these are American or British journals, people who have no any kind of useful skills in their lives. And so he talks about those manpower. He's talking about 1.3 million on the Russian side, which is, well, it's a little bit different now. Then Ukrainian military headcount is closer to 500,000. And he comes up with this, it's classic American trope. The quality of Russian conscripted forces may not be high. Well, I will give him a hint. No American soldier can even go toe-to-toe with present Russian military personnel. Or as he said, conscripted. They are not conscripted. It's a little bit more complex than that, and many of those people who have been, well, actually a majority, who were actually mobilized, partially mobilized, they are former military people. They served, many of them went through the combat zones, and they are really, really good. But hey, you know what? They need to maintain this facade of this American military mythology, which is complete garbage, honestly, at this stage, and they continue to do that. But then you go to Eric Levitz, and you look at his CV, curriculum vitae, and as you might understand that he has degree in nothing. He has degree in the glorified English language. Nothing wrong with having a degree in language, actually. It's important, make no mistake. But look at this. Here's actually his competences in the warfare are this. Look at this. I taught sections of Introduction to Fiction and Poetry, the first class in creative writing course of study at Johns Hopkins University. Teaching this class involved leading critical discussion of canonical short story writing. Well, yes, he writes. He's correct. I mean, he learned how to write fiction, especially on the issues which he has no clue about. And as you can see yourself, we have this, again, as Larry correctly points out, pushing of this stalemate garbage. Because that's the only thing they can sell now to public right now. There will be the new day, there will be new food, so to speak, and they will have to come up with another mental, pseudo-mental construct which to sell to American public, which is beginning to look really tired from even this war in Ukraine, despite the fact that the United States is not affected by it directly in terms of the losses. And that brings us back to the start of this video, where I stated that if United States wants to really really feel what real war is. It may try deploy its in force and try to fight the way, they are taught. For example, and here's an interesting story going back to Wagner and how they fought. And these were 12 battalions of the pretty much Storm Infantry, which fought, drum roll, and guess what? And again, this is from very reliable sources. They fought on the tactical level in accordance to the field manuals of the U.S. Army. Didn't do well, let me put it this way. And so when you look at this, it's just like, yeah, sure. And then people ask me, and again, as I said, it's kind of Q&A type thing today, that where's the challenge? Where are the challengers? Where are those British, magical, tanks with those amazing guns and Chauvin armor and things of this nature? So my response to it is very simple. They are being reserved for the second phase, so to speak, of this offensive. That means the remaining about 40% of the strategic reserve of the armed forces of Ukraine will be again thrown at Russians. They will be impaled. And what is important here, that obviously they need to kind of collect this armor feast, if you wish, and challengers will be part of it. They will burn as well as any other tank on the battlefield. And of course, as joke, current joke goes in Russia and around Russia, if you want to destroy reputation of these weapons, send it to armed forces of Ukraine. Russians will gladly destroy it. So, and we kind of go on and on about it, and this is BS with this ATACMS now. Probably some ATACMS are already in Ukraine, but again, people, you have to understand, ATACMS, for example, which is again being presented as the Wunderwaffe, it may still get some leakers to Russian defenses, but the point is, first, it actually has less lighter warhead than, for example, Storm Shadow, and it's a ballistic missile. But it's kind of standard target for such complexes as Tor M2 and Buk M2 and M3. It's their standard target. This is what they're designed to fight. So they will have to find a way to basically deploy those carriers of M270, whatever the hell the name of this not system, pardon my French, vehicle is to just get there, tie in geographically, shoot, and run away. So that's the only way they will be able to achieve anything. So, and we will know the number of the intercepted ATACMS pretty soon, believe me. They will be intercepted, at least majority of them. And that brings us to the other thing that even the Daily Beast, it's scandalous, Russophobic, garbage, sure, but still they come up with this. They have to kind of admit that, oh my God, they talk to two of the American Marines, Americans who fought Putin, share horrifying war surprises. It was 3 days ago on June 30th, and they talk about this and talk to these two guys, and here it is. Those guys, obviously, Green Beret and counter Russia mission as the Army Ranger in Iraq and Afghanistan, felt compelled to go to fight the Russians. Well, the reason he felt compelled to fight the Russians, because, let me show you what it means and what they write, because the guy thinks that this is my third war I fought in, and this is by far the worst one. Offenbacher told the Daily Beast, you are getting smashed with artillery, tanks. Last week I had a plane drop a bomb next to us like 300 meters away. It's horrifying crap. Well, let me put it this way. The reason he went there, because actually neither Iraq nor Afghanistan are real wars. They were intensive or high-intensity police operations. They were finding primarily people who are practically defenseless. So this is his real war, and yeah, evidently they don't like it. And again, you know what? It's the complex of inferiority. It's the issue of, being sore losers, and they want to try them, and not even at the best. He didn't see the best yet, but here it is. He goes in and fight those damn Ruskies, let's kill Ruskies. That's their motto. It's motto in the armed forces of Ukraine. And here he writes, the missions were grueling. Bromlett, the other guy, Bromlett said, in Iraq or Afghanistan, Bromlett had air support or supporting ISR or intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance. The worst day in Afghanistan and Iraq is great day in Ukraine, he said. Even though we thought it wasn't, we were always in control of the situation. Versus as a commander of a team in Ukraine, where there are more unknowns. Well, there are not only just more unknowns, and again, those two guys, they killed all those, Afghan wedding parties, blew up all kinds of villages there. The same goes for Iraq, and they thought that they were at war. No, they were not. And again, as I already stated, high-intensity police operation is not a war. And again, Russians didn't come to fight war yet. They're fighting special military operation. That's a completely different story. But if they want the war, my gosh, they really do not want to face that. And this is what I'm saying. The actual, I'm not talking about operational level and operational planning is not good in NATO. They do not know how to even handle the situation. And I'm talking about the very serious planning. Tactically, who knows, they can shoot, javelin somewhere and get lucky. So, sure. But war is not about all those special forces running and shooting those, terrorists and things like that. It's absolutely not. It's all about mass casualties. And those two guys, good that they got the message, because if their NATO goes there in the combined arms conventional war to Russia, the casualties will be, U.S. Army never experienced anything like this in its history, including World War II. So, but here we are. And these are even Daily Beast, which is the basically Russophobic garbage sewer. But hey, there they are. They even say that. And then, of course, we also have this admission, which I understand it hurts them really badly to admit this. But this funny organization, I lost all my respect for the Center for Strategic and International Studies. They don't study there anything. And here it is, this Russia isn't going to run out of missiles. This Mr. Jan Williams, he spent 6 years serving in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know how that makes him actually competent to speak about the issues of the air defense. But yeah, he admits that, yeah, Russia produces like more than enough all those kinds of missiles. Remember, Russia was running out of missiles since last year. She still didn't manage to run out of them. And actually, Russia increases the salvos of those. But then, of course, Mr. Jan Williams, who is the fellow International Security Program and Deputy Director of Missile Defense Project, goes and starts waxing air defense. Let me read my lips. And this also refers to Mr. Jan Williams, the same as to anybody in CSIS who try to pontificate on the issues of air defense. They have zero expertise in that. The question is, they have zero expertise on that because U.S. Army never faced any kind of the intense air defense operations in its history. And I'm talking about, obviously, even when you look at what is happening and in terms of those Patriots and other Iris and NASAMS, what have you, and in other kind of air defense systems, they are failures, they are flops. And of course, the intensity of the salvo intensity, it's simply beyond any kind of experience or grasp of the planners in Pentagon. They don't even understand how to deal with this, and I mean they don't, because obviously, as you know, any kind of air defense complex they pull into the theater of operation is destroyed, and they have to operate no matter how they try to build them. You can use this, the integrated thing. Sure, let them use it as integrated thing if they are able to put and conduct the real integration. They will be still, obliterated, annihilated, what have you. And most importantly, those are not good complexes designed to fight real serious enemy. They are lucky if they shoot down a couple of the drones from Houthis, and even there it's not good. So, and but yet they still go out there and wax they're having zero data sets, and those data sets, those war correlates in terms of the, or basically operational data, what you have to, in terms of the performance of Russian air defense complexes is a highly classified matter, and Russians are not sharing unless they decide to go and publish, which I expect at some point of time, this white book, white quote unquote, about operations of Russian air defense, because it's stunning, it's astonishing. And there you go. So what can I say? I mean, they can continue to write all kind of garbage, which is coping, but hey, they write it. And in order for you to understand why they haven't been ready to face anything like this, and they haven't been ready to do this for decades now, because obviously United States have been deindustrialized completely, and now they're trying. It's even Newsweek reports yesterday. They are hiring those 70-year-old farts, to go back to old Raytheon or whatever the heck, the production lines to start producing at least Stingers. They don't have even cadres. They don't know how to produce them. But hey, you know what? All those guys from Harvard Business Schools or Chicago Business Schools, they knew it all along, right? Well, they didn't have a clue. And here's Michael Hudson, one of the greatest economists living today. And he writes about it. He writes a couple of days ago, makes this wonderful piece, which is called "America Has Just Destroyed a Great Empire." And as you might understand, America destroyed not a Russian empire. Russia doesn't have empire and doesn't care about empire. America getting itself involved without understanding how the world works into this situation with Ukraine. It destroyed its own empire. And here how Hudson basically describes this whole situation. It is critical to understand what he is writing. And that's what he says. In addition to having to subsidize domestic European gas to prevent widespread insolvency, a large proportion of German Leopard tanks, US Patriot missiles, and other NATO wonder weapons are being destroyed in combat against the Russian army. It has become clear that the US strategy is not simply to fight to the last Ukrainian, but to fight to the last tank, missile, and other weapon being deleted from NATO stocks. Yes, exactly, that was the plan. Of course, what they didn't count on was the fact that they lose all reputation. Their weapon systems are now being actually ridiculed and mocked because they are indeed not designed to fight modern combined arms warfare. And look at this. This was where that whole plan, as was predicted and as was warned. Actually, I did warn about it about a year ago, and I'm constantly on the record. But look at this. The idea was that the United States will push this basically junk like F-35s and Patriots, what have you, to NATO partners, quote unquote. In reality, shove it down their throats. But look at this. But the weak performance of US and German arms on the Ukrainian battlefield may have crushed this dream. While Europe economies are sinking into depression, and with Germany's industrial economy deranged by the severing its trade with Russia, German Finance Minister Christian Lindner told Die Welt newspaper on June 16, 23 that his country cannot afford to pay more money into the European budget, to which it has long been the largest contributor. And yes, Viktor Orban asks, what happened? And he asked it 3 days ago. What happened to the European Union budget, which was accepted and adopted for 7 years? 2 years passed since then, and it's gone. There's no budget left then. So, hey, guys, we know why it's not there. The hundreds of billions of dollars went to Ukraine. And guess what? They either were laundered there and ended up in the pockets of some very entrepreneurial people, wink, wink, or they basically have been destroyed on the battlefield by Russians. And that's what Russians do really well. They kill enemies because Russian weapons are good. And the question is now, what are they going to do? And you know what? Obviously, economically and militarily, it's not feasible to bring U.S. Army, which never fought real serious enemies since the Korean War. Do they want to go to war with Russia? But even wanting and being able to are two totally different things. And as I already stated, and I already am on record stressing it, that there was always a corporate respect to our American military, especially for me, being a naval person, to U.S. Navy. It's still a great force. It's still a magnificent force, despite its many, many problems, and some of them are critical, crucial, actually. But when you look at this planning and this ideas, so to speak, those guys do not understand what operational art is. They might have some degree of understanding what operations are, but in terms of operational art, they do not understand. They do not understand how you shuffle those blocks, how you approach it creatively and, yeah, mathematically. But here we are. What can I say? And this is what I wanted to tell you today. And as always, guys, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. I really appreciate what you're doing, guys, for me. And I'm trying to do things for you as much as I can. So, you know what? Have a nice weekend, long weekend. And I probably will talk to you on the 4th or after. So have a nice day. Bye-bye.